Hi, historians. It's Halloween, so I'm kind of dressed up. But anyway, Unit 2, Notes 10 today, Industrialism and Sectionalism. Hello. Sorry. So when you see the pencil here, fill out your notes as we go. Today we're going to cover the industrialization piece, and then tomorrow we'll do part 2 about sectionalism on the back side. So this is our last set of notes for Unit 2, so we will be preparing to take our test at the end of this week. Let's get started. The Industrial Revolution. Okay, in the 1700s, a great change began in Europe. Gradually, machines began to take the place of many handmade tools and hand tools. Okay, the Industrial Revolution began in Britain, specifically in the textile or cloth making industry. The use of spinning wheels, like we talk about in, like Sleeping Beauty and such. Okay, they made thread. They took cotton or wool or whatever was being used to spin into threads, and then they took those threads and put them in a hand loom. Okay, instead now of using those hand looms and these spinning wheels, they were replaced with large textile, great big buildings that were along rivers to use the water, and then they had power looms and spinning machines. So here's an example of a spinning machine that did the same work much more quickly, and you can see how many spools they could do at one time. Still powered by hands more than before, but less work than before, and doing more work at once than before. Okay, and then power looms we'll talk about in a second. The Industrial Revolution slowly spread to the United States during the War of 1812, when the U.S. industry grew because we couldn't trade with Britain. So please write down that the Industrial Revolution is the use of machines to do work that was formerly done by hand. Okay. 2 American businessmen helped bring textile mills to the United States. Samuel Slater and Francis Cabot Lowell both used the ideas from British textile mills to build their own mills in New England. Okay. The mills relied on power generated by moving water through the mill. Mills sprang up along rivers in the northeastern cities. So can you please define textile mills as factories powered by water for making cloth? It provides, we're going to talk about this in a second, but this provided jobs for women and immigrants mainly. And then the power loom turned cotton threads into bolts of fabric, and this is going to increase the demand for cotton. So here's a picture of power looms in a textile mill. Francis Cabot Lowell is what this says up here. He built his textile mills in Waltham, Massachusetts. His factory had spinning machines that spun threads and power looms that wove fabric. His factory was different in another way. He hired women to live in boarding houses and work in the mills. They called these the Lowell mills. Okay, this provided young girls with educational and financial opportunities unlike ever before. So you're going to write down for Francis Cabot Lowell in your notes that he hired young women to do the work, to work the power looms in his textile mills. 25 years old and unmarried, still working in the mill. I guess that makes us old spinsters, which is where we get the term old spinster. Okay, but of course these textile mills need cotton. Most textiles are made from cotton and wool. So cotton is lighter and is a lighter weight. It's less itchy to wear. You don't want to wear wool in the summertime. The textile industry in the northern cities began to rely on shipments of cotton from southern plantations. There's raw cotton. Okay, it goes to the spinning jenny, which then takes it to the power loom to make to turn the threads into bolts of fabric. That becomes fabric. Okay. Okay, this is dirty cotton. This is clean cotton. The difficult thing about growing cotton was that it's very labor intensive. Cotton bolls had to be picked off by hand. Okay, it's a cotton boll. They had to be picked off by hand right off of the plants. So you would take these pieces right here and you would pick those off. Okay, And then it had to be cleaned, and it would have to be separated, the seeds and the dirt from the cotton fibers. It took workers many long hours to pick and clean cotton in these plantations. So, Eli Whitney from Massachusetts took a job as a tutor on a Georgia plantation, and he saw how cotton was cleaned by hand, and he set to work inventing a machine that would clean the cotton more quickly. His invention was called the cotton engine, or gin for short. Within 10 years, cotton was the South's most important crop. Hold on a second. All right, here you can see a little better. Okay, the demand for plantations increased after Eli Whitney invented the cotton gin. So there's the cotton, it goes through the cotton gin, and it comes out nice and clean. So would you define the cotton gin? It cleaned cotton faster than 50 people, and it spread the need for cotton plantations. You would think that the cotton gin would decrease the demand for slaves because it could do the work of 50 people. However, now that it can clean the cotton faster, and because the northern textile factories are in need of this cotton, it's actually going to expand the number of plantations, and that means they're going to grow more cotton, which means they still need slaves to plant and hand pick the cotton from the fields. So it actually spreads slavery. Raising cotton in the same fields year after year after year wore out the soil. Cotton requires a lot of nutrients from the soil. So in search of fertile soil, cotton planters began to look at land further west. The cotton gin required fewer slaves for cleaning cotton, but the increase in cotton production required more slaves for planting and picking cotton on plantations. So the cotton gin caused slavery to spread. Okay, you can see this, this area down here is what we call the Cotton Kingdom. The Industrial Revolution impacted other ways that we lived in the Central Plains and Great Plains, and up here in Minnesota, as you talked about in 6th grade, farmers used John Deere's new Steel Plow. Okay, this plow was stronger but lighter than the old iron plows, and it required only a horse instead of a whole team of oxen. So Deere's invention helped plow the rich prairie soil of the Central Plains, Minnesota, and the Midwest. Okay. So we've got factories over here, and we've got the plains over here growing things, and they need a way to get there. So let's link those two together through waterways. One issue that arose was how to get crops and resources from the Central Plains to the factories and cities in the northeastern coast. Rivers weren't always located where people needed them. Canals are man-made waterways that connect to other waterways. Okay? In 1817, New York engineers and workers built a canal that linked the Hudson River that flows into the Atlantic Ocean to the Great Lakes. This project, called the Erie Canal, created a continuous water route that linked the farms in the Central Plains to the factories and cities on the East Coast. The Erie Canal was so successful that many other northern states began to build more canals. So would you write in canals, man-made waterways for transporting goods? The Erie Canal especially linked the East Coast to the Central Plains, where the farmers were in the Midwest. Okay, we're gonna skip the Erie Canal song. And to travel these canals and rivers, okay, in the early 1800s, Congress approved funding to construct national roads across the Appalachians. However, travel by road is still slower than traveling by water. In 1807, Robert Fulton improved the transportation system by water when he added a steam engine to his boat, the Clermont. He raced his steamboat upriver going against the current, and people thought, oh my gosh, what is this monstrous thing? It's some sort of evil because it's like belching out this black smoke, but it worked. By the 1820s, smoke-belching steamboats were chugging up and down major rivers across the Great Lakes. So there's Robert Fulton. He expanded the use of the steam engine by using it to power boats. And then steam engines used heated water to power engines, and this improved transportation with boats and trains. Okay, we're gonna... in the 1830s, Samuel Morse and other inventors created a method of long-distance communication by transmitting electrical signals by wire. Okay. Morse also developed a code that assigned a set of dots and dashes to each letter of the English alphabet. In 1844, the first telegraph message was sent from Washington, D.C. to Baltimore, Maryland. What? Okay. By 1866, telegraph wire had been laid across the Atlantic Ocean between the United States and Europe. Okay. So tomorrow we will talk about sectionalism, the North and the South, and how those are developing to be quite a little with different ideologies. So stay tuned for that and have a great day.